It was a cold February evening. I had just finished an assignment when I thought, hey, I just wrote a great essay. I'm going to celebrate by playing a video game. So I went to my good old friend Xbox Game Pass and looked to try something a little different. I gazed into the eyes of the recently added and saw this game, Indivisible, staring at me. I was intrigued. The art style is beautiful. And is this semi-turn-based combat mixed with a metroidvania 2D platformer? Well, I've got to try this. So join me as we explore Indivisible. Deserves more attention. First and foremost, I've got to talk about the art style. This game is goddamn gorgeous. It's clear that whoever was in charge of the design here really cares about their work, because you can tell how much effort went into making the environments a joy to explore. There are so many different areas and levels in the game, and each one is distinctive in its design. Joining Ajna on her journey to take on Kala amidst that feeling of excitement as you traverse the lands and move from beautiful area to beautiful area. There's not much more to say about the art style really, other than it's incredible, so let's move on to abilities. Indivisible is a metroidvania, which of course means that you'll be unlocking new abilities thick and fast. As you propel yourself through each of the areas, you will unlock at least one ability, which will make exploration both easier and more exciting, as well as allow you to access areas that were previously out of bounds to you. Basically, what I've just described is a metroidvania, and this is a pretty damn good metroidvania. Keeping spoilers to a minimum, there are a couple of sections where Ajna must climb a huge mountain, and these parts are some of my favourite in the game, as it became a culmination of all the abilities that you had acquired up to this point, and was the true test of your ability to master the movement system. It's challenging, fair, and rewarding. Every time you unlock a new ability, it fits in seamlessly into your ever-growing arsenal of traversal mechanics, and before long you'll be asking yourself how you had gone so long without using said ability. Each one will become instinctively ingrained within your muscle memory, and you feel yourself becoming more powerful alongside Ajna. You are both constantly learning and constantly improving, and this feeling is transmitted beautifully onto the player. I must say, I was a little perplexed as to how a combat style such as this one would work in a 2D platformer. I can safely say that I found it very fun and engaging, for the most part. As well as collecting a plethora of abilities for platforming, Ajna will constantly collect people, as you unlock new party members at a fairly rapid pace and lock them inside of your brain because of plot reasons. You've obviously got your stereotypical JRPG combat classes such as the healer and the tank, etc. But what I found myself doing was mainly picking the characters that I liked the most, because every member of your party is brimming with personality and charm, and for a roster the size of this one, that is very impressive. The combat isn't quite turn-based, but you do have a limited number of attacks you can do with each character before they need to recharge, allowing your enemy to then attack you. So you can either space out your attacks so that your opponent has a smaller window to actually attack you, or you can unleash devastating combos and then go on the defensive whilst you wait for your attacks to recharge. The blocking mechanic is very satisfying. You can hold the block button and just take less damage, or you can try to get a perfect block, which means that you only take 1 damage and further charge up your ultimate ability. Different enemies have different attacks that take different times to complete, meaning you'll have to memorise how long each enemy takes to hit. When I said I enjoyed the combat for the most part, that's because there's a little too much of it. I finished my playthrough of Indivisible in around 15 hours, and towards the end I found myself trying to avoid combat as much as possible. This is because, aside from unlocking more attacks, it doesn't really change all that much from beginning to end, so I became a little tired of it. I think this could have been solved by either having less combat, especially in the latter stages of the game, or having combat develop in some way, because after a while it becomes more of a chore than a challenge, which brings me into my next section. This game is incredibly easy. I don't play many Metroidvanias, or many 2D platformers, or many turn-based / semi-turn-based combat games. But the only times I died in combat in this game were the spider boss fight at the start and the final boss, which, by the way, is a monumentally large step up in terms of difficulty compared to the rest of the game. It doesn't quite seem to be scaled properly. Obviously, it's not fun to just be dying constantly over and over, but I've recently been playing Ori and the Will of the Wisps, and I must say that I think I enjoyed Ori more. I loved Indivisible, but Ori is much more challenging and much more rewarding. I think that if Indivisible was a little bit harder, I would feel much more accomplished when completing Ajna's journey. Where the abilities make you feel as though you're growing stronger with Ajna, the difficulty of the combat makes it feel as though you're watching her grow stronger, as it's constantly relayed to you how difficult Ajna's task is, yet you never feel like an enemy is giving you any trouble, so it doesn't quite work. What I'm trying to say here is that since the whole main plot of the game is this huge challenge that Ajna needs to face, in games like this, the combat and the gameplay is normally transmitted in this way as well. So for example, The Last of Us, which I'll also talk about in the next section, it's a difficult task. It's related to how difficult it is to get Ellie to where you need to get Ellie, and the combat is difficult, and it further explores that point by doing so. And just like Ori, as I mentioned earlier, it's said to you how difficult Ori's task is to get the Will of the Wisps, and the combat transmits this feeling as well, but it's not really done like that here, is what I was trying to say. Ajna's tale begins in a generic way, takes place in a generic way, and then finishes in a fairly generic way. You've almost certainly seen this story told somewhere else before, but that doesn't mean that it isn't good. You see, a narrative doesn't need to be innovative in order to be a good story. The Last of Us is widely regarded as having one of the best stories that video games can offer. Yet there's nothing there that hasn't been done before. There's nothing new. I must make this very clear. I love The Last of Us. It's one of my favourite games of all time, and I can't wait for the sequel. And I loved Indivisible. I never found myself tired of the story. The characters are all given enough time to breathe and come into their own. And even though you can kinda see how it's gonna end almost as soon as it starts, that doesn't prevent the story from packing a punch, and I enjoyed my ride along Ajna's journey. Thank you for making it to the end of my Indivisible video. If you enjoyed what you saw, please consider subscribing to make sure that you can see more videos just like this one. And leave a like if you would be so kind, as I would greatly appreciate it. Have a nice day, and goodbye.